Hey everyone, this is James Quinn, and if you're not already following, and you should be, make sure you subscribe to DNC Digital. It's the new way, and it's the only way, guys.
What's going on, everybody? It's your boy D from DNC Digital, back with another episode of DNC Radio. My guest today is James Quinn. He is a Pittsburgh-based actor seen on Nickelodeon and CBS All Access. You can hear him on your Jagoff podcast on the radio.com app, or you can see him on Amazon Prime starring in Checkmate. Mr. James Quinn, welcome to the show, sir.
Hey, D, how are you?
Good. I had to make sure I was reading that correctly. The Jagoff podcast.
It is. It's a Pittsburgh thing, but it's actually a really strong, popular podcast in Pittsburgh. So it was a good time to be on there.
I'm assuming it's very wholesome and very family oriented, that podcast.
Oh, naturally, yeah. Actually, it really is. It's just Jagoff seems to be like a Pittsburgh term. I don't know if you guys hear that out your way at all, but it's something that's very redundant in Pittsburgh. You hear it all the time, and so these guys started this podcast. They're hooked up with the radio network, all of our major radio stations, and they like to come up with these little Jagoff innuendos for people they see doing stupid things.
No, it's all good. It hit close to home because I was born and raised in Jersey. I'm from Elizabeth originally.
I got you.
So let's talk about Pittsburgh for a second, because what I'd love to talk about is food. So if I were to go and visit you and go with my girlfriend and visit you, meet your family and everything, hang out for a weekend, where would you take me to eat to get a authentic Pittsburgh experience as far as food goes?
Well, you know what? I'm going to be remiss if I don't say it, but I'm sure if you've talked to anybody else from Pittsburgh, they've probably told you Permane Brothers by now.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, it's a Pittsburgh thing as well, man. It's it's the sandwich like no other, the coleslaw, the fries, depending upon what type of meat you want. But Permane's is a Pittsburgh experience. There's a lot of different places you could probably do in Pittsburgh, but I'd say Permane's is definitely the number one.
Sounds good. You could put me down.
You're gonna come to town,
that.
You have to check it out, D.
Oh yeah, we'll check it out. So growing up, can you talk about the in-state rivalry between the Eagles and the Steelers? And if you were following it at all or going to the games, was it something prominent in your childhood?
Yeah, I think it's been there since the beginning of time almost. I think it's a Pittsburgh Philly thing no matter what. And I'm a diehard Penguins fan in hockey, and you see it with the Pens and Flyers all the time too. But and I love the Steelers. But yeah, man, I've seen it with Pittsburgh and Philly, with the Eagles. Yeah, it's always been. I mean, just because it's a cross-state rivalry thing, and I think they just like to get under each other's coach,
Exactly.
That being said, I do respect the Philly fan base, man. They're just out there supporting their team too. It's just funny how crazy.
I noticed that the Philly fan base also has South Jersey to work with them. Like if you're from South Jersey, a lot of people. I'm originally from North Jersey, so if you're from South Jersey, you're going for the Eagles and you're going for other stuff. We're going for the Jets and the Yankees and stuff. But I feel like South Jersey is a whole different world.
And that's funny you say that, because, if I go to a Pens game or something, too, you're not just dealing with the Philly fans. You're dealing with South Jersey. So, you got a lot you're going to be enduring if you're going to wear a Pittsburgh uniform,
A lot of hair gel in that building, bro.
Nah, no doubt.
Hey, so you're an actor, and I've looked you up, and you have a lot of cool stuff under your belt.
Thank you.
Talk about the start of this. Like, where did the love for the theater, for the entertainment business come from? Was it in high school? Did you join, the drama club? How did this start?
I've really never been a part of the drama club per se. I mean, it probably would have been a cool thing to do. I did some school plays in grade school, in the early days, but it was, it was fun. But at that point, I didn't know it was anything that I wanted to pursue. During high school, I had done a couple background projects on films like Sudden Death for Jean-Claude Van Damme, some local commercials in my Pittsburgh area. So I kind of felt it there. But I think just going to the movies as a kid, and my favorite film and franchise of all time, anybody who knows me can tell you this, is Back to the Future.
Back to the Future.
I think I've
noticed that all over your social media, bro.
For sure. So that drew me in, and that intoxicated me to where I wanted to do something in the industry one day. It took me a lot of years to actually, come full circle and get there. But I think that's the one that's just has stood the test of time for me. That it makes me a hopeless romantic, and that's the thing that brought me in.
Talk about that moment you were able to actually film a scene with Doc on the street. I saw a few videos. Go ahead and explain that to the lovely people listening.
A few years ago, I was a little bit mad. Okay, so I have to really rewind the story a little bit. But when I was a kid, they were building the Back to the Future ride. Okay. And I missed it. I didn't get to ride it. So the first year I came back all these years later was the first years they put the Simpsons ride in. So I didn't get to ride it, and I was madder than hell. So I started opening my own investigation. I was documenting all this footage as to what happened to the ride, and eventually I actually ran into Doc, and he had asked me if I wanted to do kind of like a one-on-one skit. It's the same Doc Brown. It's been at Universal Studios in Florida for years. He's a great guy. But yeah, we just kind of did that one-on-one improv scene, and it was a lot of fun, man. My wife and daughter were filming it, laughing at us. But I kind of have a video on YouTube where I just run around and harass the workers of Universal Studios over a couple of
I got to check that out.
Because I feel like they're hiding the ride. It's a big conspiracy.
No, the fix is in. Something's going on.
Something's going on. Yeah, it didn't just disappear.
So what was it? What was it about Back to the Future? It's a beloved franchise with a lot of people, and a lot of people gravitate toward it. When you talk about Americana and you talk about cult classics, not only is it a cult classic, but it is a classic cinematically. And Michael J. Fox, God bless that guy. What was it about the movie that made you fall in love with Hollywood?
Oh man, I tell you what, that's the characters, the story. I mean, time travel. I think time travel it sucked me in, man. Just seeing that. I think we know in the back of our mind, even as a kid, it's not something that you can do. But I mean, just knowing that there's that possibility, and the fact that he goes back. I mean, how many people want to go back and maybe see their parents as a kid and hang out? Bob Gale's talked about that how many times, just to see what they were like as kids. He gets to go back and see all that, and see what they were really like. Because your parents tell you one thing,
mm-hmm,
you get back there and you get to see how they really were, and it's a different story, and it's kind of cool. I think the time travel part, but like, the Doc Brown character and Biff and Marty, man, they were just, these characters are just so amazing, man. I fell in love with them from a very, very young age. There's actually not a character in the story that I don't appreciate. I thought everybody served their purpose. Sure, is time travel possible? It's not, but I think I just in love with the idea that it could be. And so
how much merchandise did you make your parents buy you when you were a kid?
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that last part.
How much merchandise did you make your parents buy you when you were a kid?
quite a bit. But
did you get the hoverboard?
They didn't have as much then as they're putting out now.
Right.
So now is when I'm actually collecting even more, because these are things that they didn't even think of when we were kids are coming out now. So many commemoratives every year that come out, and I got to get them all.
Well, I mean, that stuff is a lot more expensive than it was back then, though.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, every 5 years there's a new DVD and Blu-ray set, and then the wife will be like, "What, you really need the 35th anniversary? You got the 30th." I'm like, "Yeah, well, there's something new on there. I got to see it."
I mean, it's interesting we talk about that, because it reminds me of the kid who played Simba, not Jonathan Taylor Thomas, but the kid who sang as Simba in The Lion King. So okay. they offered his mother X amount of money, and she's like, "I'm not stupid. This is Disney. I know you guys are gonna merchandise the hell out of this movie. There's gonna be plush toys. There's gonna be every little thing you can think of. This movie's name is gonna be on top of, and 15, 20 years down the line, you're probably going to re-release this." So she went for residuals, which turned out to be an amazing business decision, because he ended up making over $2 million from that movie alone.
Especially with Disney, man. You see those movies go in the vault for years and years at a time, and then they come back. So, yeah, bravo to her. That was a brilliant move.
What were some of the things you learned on the business side of acting? Because it's very glamorous. Everybody's like, "Oh, cool, you're on red carpets in your movies," but there's another separate thing as far as negotiating and getting the part. So, what were some of the things that you learned about while you were, becoming an actor?
Oh man, you have to watch out for so much. But here's the thing: early on, you just want to get out there and do as much work as you can. So you do a lot for free, cutting your teeth. You do a lot for little or no money, and just kind of sifting through who's genuine and who's not, and then what parts are right for you, man. That's a tough navigation for the first 2 or 3 years and you're in the industry, because everybody and their mother will promise you the world, and very few will actually deliver.
Right.
But the business thing, I actually started just learning by doing my homework on the people that I worked with. So when early on, I would start and I would work with just about anybody just to be out there. Later on, I realized that they have to actually complete their work and do something with it. So I learned that if I'm going to work with somebody, I at least got to see what they've done, how they went about it, what their business proposals like, have they been good to their people, and did they get distribution? I mean, these are big deals. And, and for the independent actor, man, now that you see a lot of our work is now out there on Amazon Prime and Netflix and Hulu and so on and so forth. Troma is another big one, Shudder. Are these guys actively pursuing it? Do they have the actor's best interest at heart, or is it just a business for themselves? So it's a tough game to really navigate through the waters. But I think once you feel your way around, you do your homework on the people you work with, you get around the block a little bit, and you kind of feel the who's who and what you can do. That being said, we're learning every day, man. There's so much to learn every day. It's a cutthroat business if you let it be.
You talk about Shudder, and you think about Netflix and Disney Plus. NBC just came out with the Peacock app and everything. All these streaming services. How different is the business model now than it was even just 10 years ago?
In a lot of ways, for the independent actor, for the independent filmmaker, a lot better. 9-10 years ago, if Hollywood said no, that was it. Nobody knew who you were. But in comes social media, streaming platforms, and then they more or less leveled the playing field. You might not get the major paydays or the theater recognition, but you're out there and you're in front of so many audiences and thousands and even millions of people that can watch your work that they couldn't before. So when they necessarily said no to you, and that's it, streaming platforms have said, you know what, we'd like to see what you have. And sometimes you even see Hollywood actors, working hand in hand with the independent actors. And so, because there's something there, and they're doing something fresh, and they're not just putting out recycled material all the time. I say that all the time because as an independent, you can take chances. And with social media, with streaming platforms, it's the best way to market yourself as an artist anymore. So, and that's not just for actors. I think that's, comedians, musicians, they'll all tell you the same.
Oh yeah. It was funny because I was at my regular job a few years ago, and I go up to a guest, and he just looks at me. He goes, "Do you do YouTube?" And I was like, "What the fuck? Yeah, sure." He's like, "Hey, you interview people, right?" I was like, "Yes. Do I owe you money or something?" And he looked at me, he goes, "No, dude, I watch your videos and I'm subscribed." And I was like, "What the really?" He's like, "Yeah." And like, I asked for a picture and everything. It was the weirdest experience in my life. So now to ask you,
that's cool.
Yeah, oh no, it was definitely cool. To ask you, did you get to that point where you were Snap famous? When I say Snap famous, we see Brad Pitt, George Clooney walk down the street. We know who they are, but one look at you and they just, oh, I know you from somewhere. What was it like being recognized for the first time?
Outside of my hometown, it actually happened about, I want to say about a year and a half ago for the first time, when we were walking on the streets in Florida, because I was on vacation at Universal Studios with the family, and a guy and his fiance, I believe it was his fiance, he told me, the guy come running up to me and recognized me from the boxing film Sandman that I did, and asked me, because you're the Sandman, aren't you? I said, yeah, how'd you know? He goes, I've followed all over the social media. I said, to me, I'm thinking, what are the odds I'm going to run into anybody that knows my work outside of my hometown, but little did I know, I forgot that we had taken the film to like Vegas and Japan and different things, and I just figured the local people paid attention more, but this guy was really cool, man. He wanted to take a picture. Then my wife just looked at me and said, "Oh, don't get his head big." And I was just
it's always up to them to knock you down, bro.
Because it was just nice to be recognized for your work, and somebody actually knew what you did. They didn't just know your face; they knew what you did, and that was kind of cool.
So not only the experience of that, but how did it feel to have somebody appreciate, what something you worked hard for? Because your family and your friends are always going to be there for you, no matter what, sure. Right? But
yeah, that was a total
you got
stranger.
somebody, a perfect stranger now saying, taking their time out to watch your work. Because if I can go into a story, I interviewed Al Snow. You also interviewed Al Snow, and
I did, yes.
So he told me, he goes, "What are you going to do to make somebody get off their comfy couch, get out of their comfortable home, go pay a ticket, go sit in a seat, go buy food that they don't want to eat, a drink they don't want to drink, and watch you? What are you going to do to sell that?" So like that experience of having somebody recognize you, it's not just that cool experience, but it goes deep. The person is appreciating your work. How did that feel on a deeper level?
It was great. It was very validating, man. That was a point. It was kind of a turning point for me where I realized that, all right, because sometimes as an actor, you can get depressed, or you can reach those moments where you're like, is it, am I doing enough? Is it getting out there? Am I actually getting the message through to people? And for me, it was very validating. I was in a hotel lobby of somewhere I'd never been before. and as soon as he was done, I had 3 or 4 bellmen come running over and want to take pictures with me too. Didn't even know me, but knew that there was something going on, and that was kind of cool, man. It was just, to me, it was validating. It let me know, okay, you know what, everything you're doing is for a reason. And so, every time somebody reaches out to me to do an interview, man, I'm extremely gracious and humbled to be able to do it, because it's usually somebody away from my hometown that's taking the time to notice my work. And I thank social media and streaming platforms for that, because now they have an opportunity to see what I can
do. The guy you mentioned was you mentioned your movie Sandman, which
yes.
Got Best Short Film in a festival over there in Pittsburgh.
Yes.
So Sandman is a movie about you being a boxer, and I can imagine, like, it's not just, okay, here's your script, show up on this day, we're gonna go through. No, you're gonna be a boxer, so now it's a lot more work. It's a lot more physical exertion. It's not just being pretty in front of a camera. Now you have to sell the story about a boxer. What was the experience like prepping for that movie?
It was, for me, it was great. There was a lot of hard work though, because I had to go and begin training again. And, to rewind a little bit, I was an amateur boxer in the late 90s for a little while, just, during high school, and competed in some Golden Glove tournaments. But there was a lot of years removed between then and 2017 when we made the film. And so I had to get back in shape, meet with some guys. And I actually had met up with Jose Caraballo, who played Jake Gyllenhaal's trainer in Southpaw. He played Ellie. He's a professional boxer in Pittsburgh, and he brought me into his gym. And he's actually the guy I fight in the beginning of the film that beats me for the title. So he pretty much got me into the shape that I needed to be in again, to make sure that everything looked authentic, that, anything that I might have forgot about or anything in the game that changed, I had to get my mind refocused in that form, because you can work out year round and not be in boxing shape. That's a whole different world, man. So now you got to be able to act and, and sell the fact that you're dropping the title and be able to look authentic to the people at home, man. Because last thing I wanted to do was get in the ring and make it look like we couldn't do it right. So we went in and we didn't go as hard as we could, but he and I talk about this all the time. We took the shots we needed to take, to sell it for the fans. And I think at the end of the day, I think that sold well. Is why people really enjoyed what they saw.
So what was the day like as far as, working out? What time would you wake up? What kind of diet restrictions did they give you? Did you, what was that like?
But it was crazy because I would be at work. So I would get all my working out done at night, because I would work during the day, 10, 12 hours sometimes. And then I'd have to come right to the gym at night, and I have to watch everything I was eating. So I'd cut out all the baked goods, all the carbs, all the pastas. I wasn't eating any of that leading up to the film and during the film. So that was hard. I'm literally eating, turkey with a fork and whatever kind of fruit I can get my hands on during the day. So by nighttime, you're kind of miserable, but then you're training until 11, 12 o'clock at night, and then you're going to bed till 4 and getting up and doing again the next day. It was tough, man. That first week or two, I'm not going to lie, it was hell trying to get yourself into that mindset, because, if you don't have the Hollywood budget, or you're not there and they're not paying you, around the clock to train, you're doing this on your own time on top of working too. So sometimes that's 2 and 3 times as hard to do, just to get sleep in there somewhere. But it was a lot.
There's a comfort level that a lot of people like to conform to. And, a lot of us are guilty about it, as to say, like, I got this dream, but damn it, it's not working out, or it's not happening. I need it to happen quick, but I got my job. I have my 9 to 5. I can do 10, 12 hours, and I have my health benefits, and I got a good paying job. The bills are paid. Only speaking for yourself, because that's the only way, that's the only experience you have. What made you not, decide to say, you know what, I'm just going to work, and, this shit is too hard?
I mean, it's every time I step out on set, man, it's a gift. And there's something inside of me that takes that wants this more than anything else I do. The happiest I am is when I'm acting and making a film. And I know that I don't want to be punching that 9 to 5 every day for the rest of my life. And, and I get to go out there and do what I love, maybe it's not every week, but it's a lot, a lot more than most people ever get to do. I get to go out and do something that I actually love, man. I worked a job, I think, for a lot of years that I didn't want to do. And I think, and I'd gotten involved in some, union politics and things that didn't go so great, man. And I think when I got out here, it was just, I finally got to do something that I wanted to do, and I wasn't about to give it up. And I remind myself that every day, man. Every time it gets hard or you're on set for 16 hours, I could be doing a lot worse. I have done a lot worse. And I think that it's just knowing that there's an ultimate goal, man. Every year we make, a little bit more progress. And more and more heads are turning around and paying attention to what you're doing. So you got to be doing something right. And then I look at the fact that I got through the curve too. You figure the first 3 years in the business is when most people drop out because it gets to be too much. You know what I mean? I'm my second time in this business, closing in on 10 years for the second time around now. And so, so I know that there's something inside me that ticks and makes me want to do this, man. And I love going out there and getting feedback from people, whether it's good or bad, man. And just, I know you talk to and I'm a big professional wrestling fan. I know you talk to a lot of wrestlers, man, and they'll tell you just having that fan base, whether they boo you or love you, man, and they're critiquing you, it doesn't matter. They paid the money to see you, and they got the right to do that. And as long as they're talking about me, good, bad, or indifferent, man, I'm doing something, and I'm relevant, and that's cool.
Hell yeah, man. So you mentioned that you were a professional boxer in the late '90s or amateur boxing.
Amateur, yes.
I mean, you definitely did have a couple fights. Looking at Hollywood, can you tell me which is the boxing movie that's the closest to the real thing?
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, the most recent, seeing what they went through in Southpaw. I know I mentioned it before with Jake Gyllenhaal, but knowing that what he put himself through for that film, because the same guy that trained me for Sandman trained Gyllenhaal. He played Gyllenhaal's trainer, but he also trained Jake throughout that film. And knowing that Jake was willing to go in there and do whatever it took to make it look good. I thought his fight scenes looked good. He went in and took the shots he needed to take. That being said, man, I mean, Rocky's always going to be my Bible for boxing.
Right.
Stallone is even a testament to that. He took all the shots over the years he needed to take to sell his moves. You know, there was nothing over dramatic about that. The man went in, got himself in killer shape, and got hit by anybody he needed to get hit by.
I think when he filmed Rocky Balboa and he was standing there, his name escapes me. The other boxer who played Mason Dixon, they were filming, and he didn't want to hurt him, and he goes, "No, fucking punch me, punch me, go ahead, we're doing a movie." And he's like, "Oh my god, this guy's old, and I don't want to hurt him." But no, and there was the one where he I think it was Rocky 3. Yes, it was Rocky 3, where Hulk Hogan was Thunderlips in the beginning. So Hulk Hogan body slammed him or clotheslined him or something. Anyway, when he fell, when Stallone fell, something happened and he just spit up blood. And everybody's freaking out. Everybody's like, "Oh my God, what's going to happen?" He just gets up and he goes, "Did you guys get it? Did we get that on tape?"
Yes, that is the mark of a true actor, man.
Gyllenhaal, though, Gyllenhaal is a whole nother monster, man. I just feel he's overdue for an Oscar, because I tell my girlfriend this. I'm a big fan of his because you never see the same guy twice. He's always somebody different. And there's something to be said about the little ticks that we have. You sit a certain way, or I like to tap my knee when I'm sitting down, something like that, So when he was in Southpaw, there was a way that he walked that was just, I never seen him walk like that. I'm like, that's just smart. That's smart because it definitely humanizes the character. Another one was in Prisoners. It was just something so small. It was a small detail. He played that detective who's trying to find the little girls.
Yeah, right.
And he just decided he blinks very intensely, to the point you see the crow's feet. The way that the character blinks is not a regular blink. It's more like an intense blink, like you're getting ready for a hit or something like that. Right. I just always found that so smart as an actor. Who are some actors that you look at and maybe not try to emulate, but maybe the ones whose body of work that you follow the most?
Well, there's a few, man, and I am a huge Michael Keaton guy. He's from my hometown. Michael Keaton could sell a scene with just a look, with the turn of a head, with his eye. Bruce Willis is the same way, man. These are guys that don't have to talk throughout the whole scene to sell what they're doing. They get it. They know that the body language and that there's just a way to make things happen. They do things that other people don't. If it's a tone in their voice, a look in their eye, a turn of the chin. They have it in spades, and I just love those guys for it. Matthew McConaughey, man. A lot of people like to say they see the same character all the time, but the guy knocks it out of the park every time he goes out there. In my opinion, I love him. But those three guys in particular. I got to work around Michael Caine too for a night. Michael Caine is absolutely brilliant. If you can't learn from Michael Caine, then you can't learn. because the guy is willing to give, and his voice is just so intoxicating.
Yeah, you just want to look at him, like just sit there and just, this guy has such a charming accent. You spoke about pro wrestling. So I really want to know, because this is a movie I'm going to look up. I want to know what it was like, putting your love for pro wrestling and your love of movies together in the classic titled Pro Wrestlers versus Zombies.
It was a great time. 2013. I was just a couple of years back into the business, and they were filming some of it in Pittsburgh, some of it was in Parkersburg, West Virginia. I got involved with the casting a little late, but they still give me an opportunity to come down and be one of their featured zombies, one of the guys that got to play around with the wrestlers, And I ended up on the poster and then working with Rowdy Piper and Matt Hardy, and it was so cool, man. It's different, You can't go into it thinking that this is a serious movie about serious wrestling. It's not. It is what it sounds like, man. It's blood and gores, and it's pro wrestlers that a guy like myself grew up on, watching guys in the late 80s and early 90s, man, during a great era. Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Piper, a lot of great independent wrestlers were on the rise too, like Facade. There was a lot of cool people around us. I got to spend some one-on-one time with Rowdy Piper. There was a very surreal moment for me.
Do you have a Piper story for us?
Yeah, actually. There was one time I wasn't from Parkersburg, West Virginia, so I literally knew nobody on the set. Mm-hmm. I drove the 3 hours each way, you know what I mean? And we were in holding, and everybody had left for lunch. And I'm in zombie makeup. I look ridiculous, And I run into Hot Rod. I didn't go anywhere because I didn't know where to go. And I was just kind of loafing. I didn't want to miss any of the action. And out comes Piper. He's the only one left. We're in a prison, I should tell you, too. It's been shut down for years in Parkersburg, West Virginia. It's freezing cold. There's no utilities, man. Worst conditions you could ever think of. And I should say, one of the happiest people in the world, because I'm working around some of these people I idolized for so long. But out comes Piper, sees me in the makeup because, oh, man, these zombies. You guys scare the shit out of me every time. And I had to throw it at him, and I said, well, as long as you're not out of bubble gum, you know what I mean? And he just started laughing.
Oh, my God. You got to say that to him, bro. That sounds amazing.
I didn't know how he was going to take to it because it's Hot Rod, and he just smiled, man. And he's like, hey, you want to take a picture? And we took a picture, and I spent my entire lunch break walking around with the guy. We looked at the prison. We looked at, the interrogation rooms, and he's just like, could you imagine just spending any time in here whatsoever? I said, no, because the hell people must have went through. And he was walking around the prison with me, just internalizing every nook and cranny of the building, but he treated me like I knew him forever, man. And like I said, I look ridiculous. I'm running around in zombie makeup the whole time. He's in his wardrobe, and he didn't go anywhere either. He just wanted to stay in character and stay there. And I'll never forget that, because we just, we got to walk around, look at the whole building, and just watch him internalize everything. But just to see him in action, too, because a lot of people only know him as the wrestler. They don't understand what a tremendous actor Rowdy Piper is and how serious he took that profession. Because he was right with the director every time, wanting to know what was going to go on. What do you want to see here? What do you want to do there? And him being a SAG experienced actor for many years, man, he led by example. And I gotta give it to him. It was a turning point for me to get to see that man in action. And when you see it, look, because they do a reenactment of the coconut, and I know what you're talking. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, hell yeah, the
famous coconut scene. There's something in there that takes place, man. You'll get a kick out of it.
I gotta look that up. I need to get an autographed poster. Is what I need.
Yeah,
I need to look that thing up.
I actually have one. Now that you say it, I'm going to show you my background here. I don't know if you can see it. I'm in my office at home. Can you see this poster at all?
I gotta make sure I put that on the video that we're recording.
I got Piper signed it, Kurt Angle. You know what I mean? We had a lot of greats in there. It's on Amazon Prime. Last I checked, in Trauma. If you have Trauma,
okay.
I know that both have that, and the DVDs are available as well. Man, it's pretty cool. It was a great time. It's a corny, cheesy film, but it's well done. And if you're a zombie film and wrestling fan, you're gonna love it.
There are a lot of purists. Especially in the horror genre, that if something is just, and I feel like it's the same way with wrestling. Sometimes wrestling fans get upset when they say, you know, like when they book them in a Thanksgiving feast brawl or like a Miracle on 34th Street brawl. You know, Xavier Woods on a New Day podcast, he goes, you know, a lot of people get mad that we get booked in this, but we're having the time of our lives. Like, I'm hitting somebody with a turkey leg, we're going down a sleigh and we're running over. Like, it's ridiculous, but it's fun.
Yes.
Is there something to be said about, you know, the purists that get upset about a movie that is not going for an Oscar? It's not going for any awards. It's not cinematically perfect. Everybody knows it's ridiculous and it's bad, but people still have a good time shooting it.
But yeah, you know, I mean, if you look, you can't look at the reviews. You really can't, man. And I have to say that to people as an actor all the time, unless you can be amused by them, because no matter how good you do at something, even the best of the best, McConaughey, Keaton, they all hear it, man. There's always something critical. But like, if you're going into, you know, wrestler versus zombie film, you got to take it for what it is. The diehard wrestling and the diehard zombie film fans are going to love it. But there are people that were in there, you know, the cinematography was off, or the audio was off here, or, you know, I saw this guy look at the camera. Well, it was meant to be what it is, you know, and it's slowly becoming a little bit of a classic to some of the wrestling and zombie fans out there and horror fans. That it's crazy the amount of people that ask me about that, because it's not the biggest role I've ever done, but it's one of the most interesting films that I've been a part of that people want to hear about all the time. Did you talk to Piper? What was it like on set? You know what I mean? With, you know, and nobody's taking it going into this thing looking for somebody to win an Oscar, because that's not going to happen. The acting was good throughout. I really felt it was. But it was meant to be cheesy. It was meant to be corny. It was meant to be nostalgic. And, you know, I think if you go in with that intention, man, you're going to find something that you love. But yeah, you just don't pay attention to the reviews, man, because it's got to be what it means to that person. If you're watching, you obviously are attached to it in some form or
another. So that's not the only horror movie that you've done. I saw a couple listed. Is it hidden and no knock list? Did I get that correctly in the horror genre that you've done? Okay, yeah, so when you do pro wrestlers versus zombies, like, I feel like, you know, it's fun. Like you said, you have a great story with Piper, and, you know, you got to walk around the prison with him. Right. But I feel like in these movies, was it as physically, you know, demanding as some horror movies may be, and maybe emotionally draining?
Yeah, you know, I mean, for me, yes. I was because I was a lead actor in both of those, and so that's a lot more demanding, both physically and mentally, you know. And so I was actually brought back to Parkersburg to do No Knock List. So we would spend every weekend for a better part of 4 months making that film in the summer of 2017 when we did that. And so we were going back and forth every week, and it was, you know, I was a villain, and I was being attacked by this house of horrors, if you will. It was anything bad that could happen physically was happening to my character throughout the film. And so if it was a matter of throwing myself across a room or down the steps or being attacked by, you know, some type of entity, you have to physically be able to withstand all that comes during that time. And it was really cool though, man. We got distribution. It was released just a couple of months ago on Amazon Prime. We worked with the horror scream queen, Maria Olsen, if you're familiar with Maria's work. A lot of the horror fans follow her, and so she's in that with us. And so it was a really cool experience. But it was definitely for me more demanding, because I spent a lot more time on that, being a lead and being put through that house of horrors every week that I was. But it was rewarding. It was a good time, because the horror fans have taken to it pretty well.
You got a lot of really cool pictures with a lot of different people. One that I'm insanely jealous about is the Hart Foundation. You got it with the Anvil and Bret Hart. That just looks, I can't begin to talk about what Bret Hart meant to me. And even when the Hart Foundation was out, like, you know, the Anvil pulling on his beard and that crazy laugh that he had. What was that like, meeting them? I mean, was that at a Comic-Con or was that, how did that happen?
Was, actually, I wasn't far from your old neck of the woods, man. This was, I want to say it was 2008 or 9. It was before I even got back into acting. And I used to go to a show. It was a wrestling show in Philly. It was outside of Bensalem, PA. And I'm trying to remember the name of it. Oh, man. It was almost like a WrestleCon Mania type deal that they had every year up in that area. And so it was really cool. Okay. It was like an old fire hall or something that had it, but it was a big wrestling convention just for pro wrestling. It was like a mega fest, and they had it every year up until, oh my gosh, I don't know, 2012 maybe, 2013. But they were cool, man. I got to meet them at that. Buff Bagwell was there. The Hart Foundation was great, man. Brett was really cool. We took pictures and he talked and asked me what, we got to talk about my favorite match with him was. Really down to earth. Anvil was, was just silly and joking with everybody, man. Just real jovial, not the animal you might think he is. I thought he was a pretty cool guy to be around, man. He was great with kids. It was surreal. Anytime you get to interact with people you grew up on, man, sometimes you can't even bring the words to fathom what you want to say.
No, you can't. Doing what I do, I've gotten to meet some pretty cool people and some even like keep in touch. And to me, when I'm texting with these people, I'm, they're wishing me a happy birthday or something like that. So, I mean, just like me, even though you're in the business, you haven't stopped being a fan. What was your favorite part about going to Comic-Cons?
Oh, man. I thought just being able to talk about some of the things that inspired me, man, like some of the matches and then even for some of the other actors I've met over the years, some of the films that they've made, like I've met some of the Back to the Future actors and a lot of the wrestlers. Met Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart, the two of my most favorite of all time. And just to be able to talk to them about the matches that meant something to you, man, it was just cool. And just to hear them on a personal level where they, interact with you. I thought, that to me was always worth it. It wasn't so much about even getting the autograph and the picture with, it's just interacting and getting to talk with them and then ask the questions that you always had, And it was, to me, it was pretty cool. Like, I mean, one of my favorite matches of all time was the Iron Man match with Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart.
Oh yeah. I mean, no, it's really cool because you can get the picture and the autograph, but one time I went to a Comic-Con and I didn't really have a lot of money, but I just knew the experience of having that conversation with them was already going to be worth it. Like just having that memory alone, like it was so cool. And on my last episode of my podcast, I talked to Shane Obinzinski, repeat from The Sandlot, and he does shows, and he's just like to have these grown men come up to me and tears in their eyes, talking about what the movie meant to them. Like I can't imagine what it means for people on the other side of the table. Like for us, we're like fanboying and we're going nuts, and
right.
It's got to be cool. It's got to be cool experience for them. So I saw a couple posters I saw a couple posters in your house, and I need to confirm, are you an Elvis fan?
I'm a huge Elvis fan.
So now you're from the East Coast, and you can attest to this. When it comes to hip hop, it's always either Tupac or Biggie. Everybody's like, oh, you can't be you can't be both. You got to be one or the other.
Right.
Beatles.
Oh, you know what? The line just froze up on me, dude. Can you say it one more time?
Yeah, sure. So, back then in hip hop, it was about Tupac or Biggie. Like,
right. Yeah.
You can't be both. It has to be one or the other. Why is it in old school rock and roll, it has to be either Elvis or the Beatles?
I think I've heard stories over the years, man, that it was some type of a hidden rivalry. Everybody said that the Beatles were there to replace Elvis. You know what I mean? So if you're a diehard Elvis fan, a lot of the really diehard Elvis fans weren't Beatles fans. I like the Beatles, but I could never put them in the category with Elvis Presley. To me, it was Elvis. If I got to pick one, and you do, it's Elvis. But I think it's the rivalry.
I'm gonna respectfully disagree. I don't know why it's between those two guys or those two acts, but for me, it's the Beatles. But I always wondered why. The rivalry was there because they're just such different types of rock and roll. I mean, Elvis was the sock hop, chubby checker, hip swing rock and roll, and Beatles was that crazy, it was going into the psychedelic rock and roll and the organ playing rock and roll, but it was just to me they were just so different. Yeah, as far as their sounds go. So
You're right. You're 100%
wondered what that was about.
And it's funny because I think they actually got along really well. From what I could tell, there was a lot of respect between the two parties. I think the rivalry was between the fans, to be honest. I think it was the Elvis fans versus the Beatles fans, man. And I don't think there was any hard feelings between, either of the acts. I mean, unless you had heard something I didn't.
So what was your favorite Elvis song?
If you Jailhouse Rock is my number one favorite. I've always been a Jailhouse Rock guy. But there's a lot.
What's your favorite? What's your favorite version of Elvis?
The 1968 comeback Elvis. Black leather, clean cut, long sideburns, but nothing, not the older Elvis overweight, but when he first made his comeback from film back to music. 68 comeback special.
Oh, okay. No, that guy, he's on a whole nother level, and I'm not saying that I'm not a fan. I actually like Blue Christmas. Blue Christmas is one of my favorite Christmas songs.
Okay.
Love Blue Christmas.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean?
So now everybody
has their tunes.
Oh yeah. Now that Christmas is coming up, what are some of your favorite Christmas movies?
I'm number one, Christmas Vacation.
Number one? That's your number one, Christmas Vacation? Okay.
It's a toss-up, man, because a lot of people like to argue with me on this one, and I get crazy about it, but I'll fight it till the end of the time, and it's Die Hard, man. Like Christmas Vacation and Die Hard. Like Die Hard is a Christmas movie, and I will just take it to my grave that way.
You know what? Because we did a couple episodes ago, we did a horror movie tournament. We did 64 horror movies, and we put them in tournament brackets, and we saw how it went, and we debated. There was 3 of us, so that there can be a tiebreaker. What is your top horror movie of all time?
The Shining.
Oh, The Shining. The Shining actually, it got to like the 3rd round, but it was it that won the whole thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, man, there's a lot of popularity there, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. I was pretty upset because Poltergeist got knocked out in the 1st round.
And really?
I
thought it would have fared better. Yeah.
It lost to 13 Ghosts, and I was outnumbered in that vote.
Yeah, I'm a Jack Nicholson guy too, man, and The Shining's just always been like the premier horror film for me. I don't know.
Sounds good. Hey, Mr. Quinn, where can they find you on social media, sir?
Social media, everything was recently changed for marketing. We are doing Real James Quinn, so it's REAL James Quinn. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I have a TikTok. I don't really use it, nor do I really know how to. But it's on there. So yeah, anything Real James Quinn is still in effect. Unless you go to IMDb, it's still under my old stuff, and it's the JQ way. IMDb/the JQ way.
Sounds good. Mr. James Quinn, make sure you check him out on all streaming platforms. Amazon Prime, Checkmate. Look up Checkmate on Amazon Prime. Look up Sandman. And of course, you got to look up your Jack Off podcast on the radio.com free app. This is D for DNC Digital. You can find me at DNC Digital on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Make sure you check out CanYouHandlebar.com for all your facial hair needs. Use my promo code DNC Digital for 15% off. Everybody have a great day and take care of yourselves.